Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merle Hutchinson sitting alongside of my better half, Linda Hutchinson. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm ready for fall.
You know what? This show is costing me a lot of money because if you guys notice out there, like every show, she come up with a new mug.
I got a new one. It says "Start each day with a thankful heart," and it's September, and that means fall. I mean, I know.
Like, how many different kitchen pantries are we going to need to hold all your mugs?
Maybe you should just buy me some Rock Solid Radio mugs, and then I wouldn't have to worry about it. But
I don't think that would suffice.
I'm pushing fall. I know that it's probably going to be 90 degrees when this show airs, but it's September, and September means fall.
Yeah.
So cheers.
All right. Well, hey, another mug. And she complains about me buying bike parts. Really?
My mugs are a lot cheaper.
I don't know. All right, let's get into our show today. Hey, we have a show that it's kind of a revisited topic, hon. Yeah. Back in June, I think it was June 9th of 2019, we were actually on the radio on Eagle Country.
Every Sunday night
at 7:30 to 8. And we did a show that was about just establishing priority and that kind of thing in your home, about relationships. And, that was before we started on YouTube or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So we really, due to a lot of the work that Ooh, I don't want to do. I just want to do too.
Oh, no.
Due to the challenges and different scenarios that come through our office, we see this frequently, all right? And so as we've talked about many times before, the things that come in our office, we protect people's identity, and that's not at all the purpose in us sharing these topics. Our purpose is, it seems to be a common thread, trend that runs in our families and in our community. And so we thought we really need to bring this back up again because we have new listeners and we have an expanded reach in our show. And so we do want to touch on this, but with a slightly different flavor.
Yeah. So thus the name Rock Solid Radio came from when we were on the radio. And so we just kind of kept that name and the following we already had. And so, so the question we're asking at the top of the show is, do you want a child-centered home? And so that question is the question we're going to tackle today on today's episode. But before we answer that question and give some more details, we need to thank some sponsors first.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and thank our sponsors. We're going to say thanks to Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us and just helping us provide an ongoing opportunity to put out content. And Casey's just been really great about supporting us. So we want to thank those guys. Go out there and visit, man, especially coming into fall.
Oh, man.
His whole place is filled with mums right now. He's got Mums the Word
I would
everywhere.
love. Although the problem is when I buy one of those big, beautiful mums, it's dead within a month. I cannot keep things alive.
On the way home from Casey's, they tend to die.
Although I did, when I was buying this mug and this fall theme, I did buy some artificial beautiful sunflowers that we're going to put in our office. It just like brightens up the room, but they're things I don't.
That's why I need a lady here. Like, that wouldn't occur to me.
I don't have to keep it alive. Is basically what I'm trying to say. We also want to thank Maxwell Construction.
Now that's more my kind of thing.
Yeah, and we're so thankful both of these community partners that have come alongside us and really support what we do. If this is the first time you've listened to Rock Solid Radio, we really encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also our podcast platforms. We're on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple and Google Podcasts. You also can find all of our content on rocksolidfamilies.org. And that would be a place for you to go, whether you want to connect with us, ask us a question, schedule an appointment, or get some of our resources.
Honey, as you mentioned things about questions, one of our shows just recently, we talked about a question from the audience. We want to encourage you that if you have questions about something that is specific to you or even more general, something maybe that's going on in your community, at the schools or whatever, that's a little bit more related to the family, shoot us a question. We like to answer those, and obviously our job is not to point out names or anything. It's just to deal with the topic. So shoot us questions. We like to tackle those. You can email us at from Hutch at Rock Solid Families, or you can just go to our info at rocksolidfamilies.org.
So as we talk about priorities in relationship, I think there's a couple disclaimers we need to put in there as far as what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. So Sometimes when we think about a priority in a relationship, we think about like time spent. So one of the things that we don't want to get into bickering about is, how much time I spend with the kids versus maybe my spouse or even with God, right? I mean, a lot of times we see God, 1 hour a week kind of thing, and so we have to be careful about measuring things in time because time does not always determine the priority, the amount of time. Just as an example, our two older sons live way far away from us. They're hundreds of miles away.
Way too far.
Way too far. We don't particularly like that, but that's where life is. And so we only get to spend a couple minutes a week speaking with them. And really, we only get to see them a few times a year if we're lucky. All right.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
That means grandkids too.
Yes.
I love our sons and our daughter-in-laws, but those grandkids, man, are the ones that are killing me. That's too far away.
Be careful. They might just drop them off. But the point is just because we don't get to spend a lot of time with them, we do not confuse that with the value of that relationship. That relationship with our sons is of high priority. And so because we value it, it is very important in our mind and how we operate and think and just what how we go about our daily life. So priority is not just about time. I understand that when you have a newborn baby, you're going to be spending a lot of time with them, right? And they should be a priority. But we would just want to understand what the priority versus time means.
Yeah. We also want to clarify the whole idea of dependence. As you mentioned, hon, a newborn obviously needs you. They need you to feed them and change them and hold them and care for them. And so we're not saying that children aren't going to need you, okay? God doesn't need you, but he wants a relationship with you. And so I don't want you to have any friendships or a spouse that has to have you. I mean, because we're going to talk about this. God is a jealous God, and he's the one that we need and to depend on, okay? So the dependency really isn't what we're talking about either. So time or dependency. Now, we're going to see that you a lot of times want to spend more time with people who are a high priority, but that doesn't necessarily determine their importance in your life.
Yeah. So the next thing is when we're talking about a family, what is our job? We've talked about this on many shows. Like, what is the value that we have on certain things in life? And what is our job? What is our responsibility? And when you start to look at that on the bigger picture, it actually helps you to reprioritize. It makes you understand, if that's my ultimate value or goal I'm trying to get to, I better reorganize how I'm going to operate, right? Yep. And so Linda and I had to really think about how are we going to get our kids from, birth up to being independent, strong leaders in their own right. Yeah. How are we going to get our kids to that point?
It doesn't happen by chance.
It does not happen by chance, right?
It has to be intentional.
It's very intentional. And so when you start to think about that versus, here's the other way, thinking about how to get through the day. Meaning like whatever we can do to keep the house afloat, whatever we can do to keep the kids happy, whatever we can do to give people what they want. That operation mode is so different than looking at the long term. What are we shooting for here? Okay. And so from the get-go, we always talk with couples about the idea of establish what your values are going to be for you as your home, and also what do you want your kids to be like? And when you do that, you're going to see a change in how you set your priorities in relationship. Like what is going to be your number one relationship in life, your number two, and your number three.
Yeah. Speaking of priorities, another disclaimer we want to bring up before we go any further is that if there's a two-parent home, okay, we know there's single parents out there, we know there's divorced families out there, we get that. But if there's a two-parent home, we want you guys to be thinking about mom and dad, not mom does this and dad does that, or it's my kids or my money or my house, okay? Our kids need to see a united front, and they need to hear we and us and mom and dad together. That's what's going to be really helpful as we prioritize and reshift things. But as as it comes out as mom and dad caring for the family together.
Man, I love that point, hon, because it's that whole idea of how we present to the kids. If mom presents, well, this is what I think, and dad presents this is what I think. And that is always, it randomly sometimes aligns and sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes
the
it doesn't.
kids, even at a young age, will start to see, they're not quite on the same page. And we're going to get to what that leads to. But instead, when we reference to our kids, we say stuff like, well, your mom and I think, okay, or your father and I think.
Right, Dad and I say.
It's not mom or dad, it's the two of us together. We present everything together. And like even at dinner table or when we're laying down, a new way forward, whether it's a new rule or whatever expectation, it's your mother and I have talked, and this is what we've come up with. It's a team presentation for the unity's sake.
Yeah, and one of the places that we find that happens the best for us is in our bedroom. Our bedroom has always been a very protective place for us. As a matter of fact, when we adopted our 3 youngest children, that was a place that was off limits, that mom and dad had a private place. And part of that was because we had an open bathroom concept, and we didn't just want new kids walking in and seeing their guidance counselor showering.
At the time, I was their guidance counselor.
Yeah, so that made it a little awkward. But the point
just saw something really strange today, guys, at the house that I'm living at right now.
The point is that we needed a private place that we could talk, that we can work through things, that we can come up with a plan. I call it the war room, so that when we go out, that we're a united front and we're coming with one voice, okay? And so we really don't want to have that in front of the kids, because then they're going to be like, oh, mom and dad are not agreeing on this, and they have different opinions on this, and they're going to try to, weigh their opinions in.
Yeah.
So it's better to discuss that alone, privately, and come out together.
All right. So good stuff right there. Now, we're kind of backtracking a little bit about whether we should have a child-centered home or not. So we've kind of established that part with mom and dad. But there's actually a part, hon, that we haven't even touched on yet.
Yeah.
And if you think about this, even mom and dad are fallible people. I know. Tough to admit, but we're fallible, right? And we're human. And so we've talked about before the importance of a constitution, the importance of something greater than yourself that helps you determine what foundation you're going to work from. What is going to be your ultimate guide, your rock that you will hold on to in good times and in bad times. And so we want our kids to know that, yes, in our home, we are we're the top priority in the home in terms of relationship, right? Meaning mom and dad. But we have to have a place to go. And we want our kids to know that that's God.
Yeah.
God is our number one.
Now, we're making some assumptions here, and that is that you believe in God. And we have a lot of people who walk in our doors at Rock Solid Families who don't have any kind of faith background, who don't have any kind of church home, who don't have any understanding of who God is or who Christ is. And so that creates a problem.
Yeah.
And so a lot of chaos in the house. And so they come into us saying, hey, here's my child who's messed up, or they're confused, or they're stressed out or overwhelmed, and they're like, fix them. And we got to go back to the family structure and the foundation that we're building our home on.
The family structure that you and I did not determine, that our world didn't determine, but God determined.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this world is really destroying that.
And this is such an important topic, Mom and Dad. If you're out there listening, we are having an influx of teenagers that are coming in and having all kinds of conversations. We even had this on our show about just gender confusion, identity issues, and all of these things. And here's the troublesome message out of this. We have parents that don't have a clue at what they should be telling their kids. Like, I don't want to stare them the wrong way. I don't want to come off wrong. I don't want to look like I'm unloving. And so they don't have anything to say, what should I say? And that's why, because these questions get bigger than just Linda and I or you and your spouse. We have to know what God's word says about nature. Like, what God created nature, how does it roll? And so we have to have that. Listen, everything short of God is our opinion. Everything short of God is our opinion, and my opinion is not worth a whole lot.
Yeah, and it changes and it wavers. And I had a conversation with a family this week whose home and their children are just a mess. There's anger, there's self-harm, there's depression, there's anxiety, there's gender confusion, and I told them, I was like, there's so much darkness out there. Who's going to bring the light?
Yeah.
What is the light that's shining in your home? And what's the anchor in the middle of the storm? And we've got the COVID storm. We've got Black Lives Matter storm. We've got masks and vaccine storms. Like, what's the anchor that keeps our children from feeling like they're getting tossed around by the waves and the storm and the winds? Like, if it's not Jesus Christ, then what is it? And that's what we're saying. We're saying, let's take our children off the pedestal. Okay, and let's put God on the pedestal, because he is a jealous God, and he's not going to settle for way down here, and he's not going to bring us peace if we're not making him the priority.
Yeah, I mean, in Matthew 10:32, it says, "Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." Look, Christ just established right there what the priority level is in terms of relationship. Yeah. We're not even to put each other ahead. Linda and I can't put one over the other above God. Yeah. All right. So I can't be Linda's God, and thank God for that, right? And she can't be mine. She does not need to be dependent on me for her way of life.
Or worth or value.
Right.
And we have a lot of couples that come in and they did put their spouse on a pedestal, and then all of a sudden that spouse came falling off. Humpty Dumpty came tumbling down, whether it be by abuse or by, an affair, betrayal, by lying, by dying. I mean, you name it. And so it's like, wow, God's reminding us he's going to take care of us. He's going to bring us joy and peace, but not if we put someone else or something else above him.
Right. When we don't have God as our lead, all right, he's our guide, we get lost. And we mentioned this before. I talked about the idea of being lost puts us in a state of confusion. A state of confusion causes tension. It causes tension inside of you. We call that anxiety, all right? And so confusion causes tension, which leads to anxiety. And that is what we see on a regular basis. If you want clarity in your life, you have to understand what God's nature is. That's what we look toward. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to go out mountain biking, and as our heart and our lungs were falling out of our chests after climbing
Not
a
me.
hill.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, we came to the top. We just stopped at the top of this hill, and it was just beautiful. I mean, the wind was blowing, and the trees and everything was just, you could feel like the change of the season was in the air. And both of us were riding, me and my friend, and we're like, wow, like God's nature doesn't question itself. It just does what it does. Yeah. And it's perfect until we try to come in and alter it based off of what we think it should look like.
Yeah. So we're saying, no, we don't want you to have a child-centered home. That's not healthy. It's not good for your kids. It's not good for your marriage. We want you to have a God-centered home. But then who comes next, hon? Who's after God? So if we put God up here, then who comes next?
Well,
is it the child?
So it still can't be the child, hon, and this is the hard part because sometimes that child, here's where we get it all mixed up. The child is more demanding of our resources. Yeah. Okay. Because diapers and bathing and feeding and just soothing, those things are very demanding. And so because of the immediate demand that those things put on us, it is very easy for us to put them as a priority because we can look at our spouse as, you're an adult, figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, you can cook yourself something.
Yeah, I have to go take care of this one. Okay. Yeah. And again, that may be true. But that's not what we're talking about. That's why at the beginning of the show, we were not talking about time. Yeah. We're talking about the value that this home needs to have. So that child is going to be very demanding for about 2 years. Okay. And we fully say at Rock Solid Families, you got to give it to them. Yeah. Right. Like you have, that's the deal.
They have needs.
Yeah. But soon after that age of 2, your child needs to learn certain things. That is certain, like a very simple thing. Mommy and Daddy are talking here right now.
Right.
Now is not the time to interrupt us.
Yep.
Mommy and Dad, like you mentioned the bedroom before, hon. Your bedroom is not their playroom, all right? It is your domain where Mom and Dad have their special place in time.
Yep.
And the kids, they have theirs, right? But you are going to protect your place, and that starts to become established.
Yep. Mom and Daddy are going to have a date night. I want to go on a date with you. I want to go on a date with you. And they guilt you to feeling like, oh, if I love them, I'd take them on the date with us. No, the best thing you can do and show love to your children is to love your spouse first. Like, that's where we show them where they rank in the world.
Yeah.
Because what we've done is we flipped this, right? God's way down here. He's thrown out the window. And our spouse, he's lower than the dog, actually. And the child has been elevated. It kind of reminds me of that movie Lion King, where Simba is brought up, and he's like, oh, and like, that's what we've done to our child. And we've created this entitlement and this expectation, like, you're going to bow down to me and I'm going to get to rule the world and I'm going to get to decide how this house runs. And then they go out into the real world, and the first person that tells them no, they're quitting their job or they're cussing the person out. And it's like, oh goodness, this is not good.
This is no fault of the child's.
No.
Let's be very clear. This is no fault of the child's. This is because we established a priority confusion with our kids. And if we don't understand that, the kids are just going to do what they do. All right.
Yep.
And so it's very important that our kids start to see that, no, Mommy and Daddy's relationship is a priority. We frequently see young couples that come in that maybe have kids that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. And we say, when was the last time you had a date night or a weekend out by yourself? And like, well, we've never left our kids with anyone else. That's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good because it shows a lot of insecurities that our kids need us. In our mind, they need us, but really what's happening is we're afraid to leave them alone, and our spouse ends up feeling dissolved and out of the relationship. And I'll just have to call it out. Most of the times it's the guys who end up sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
All right.
And think about this, okay? It may seem like this is really selfish of you to put your spouse or yourself over your kids. And I'm just telling you, this is the greatest gift you can give kids.
Yes.
Our children range from ages 30 to 13. And we've told this story before, but our son went into the military. Our 2 oldest sons are in the military. And the oldest one went through some unbelievable training for days and days and days, no sleep. And I was 3,000 miles away. Dad and I were not there to hold his hand and to protect him. But what's so cool is out of that training, he sent me a picture. It was actually my Mother's Day gift, and I have it hanging in our office, where he had written underneath his hat. Do you remember what he wrote?
God is bigger.
God is bigger. And man, when he sent me a picture of that was along with his dog tags and some other things. And he sent me that blown up to remind me that, yes, Mom, I get it. I get it. This gift you've given me, I remember it. And I'm not going to lose it. And it's going to go with me and it's going to protect me. And that, he said, is what got him through. When he was wanting to quit, he looked up on that top of brim of his hat and he read that God is bigger.
And yes. So God was his rock.
Yes.
God was his number one. God was the one that he could rest in, and not you and I, and not even the guy next to him, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing here that we're talking about, and that does not start when they're 24 years old. I mean, that starts when they are 1 and 2 and 3 years old, when your kids start to see, well, where does Mommy and Daddy go for their resource, for their strength?
And I'm scared in my room, the boogeyman's going to get me. For you to start planting that seed that God is with you. God sees you. Even if Mom and Daddy are asleep or Mom and Daddy are gone, God is still there. There is such security. There is such safety and peace in a child that believes that for themselves.
Yeah. And let's just talk real fast. So we're going to start to kind of wrap things down, because I can see a lot of people just off the cuff kind of going, yeah, that's kind of how we're doing things in our house. Here are just some signs that we see that come into our office that are red flags for Linda and I. Now, again, there are exceptions to every rule, so I really don't want to get get into debating whether, well, it worked in your house or whatever. We're talking about large scale, like what is the likelihood of this coming out well or not? And so here are some signs. Hun, you want to do the first one? Because I know you have talked about this one frequently.
Yeah, well, and this was our whole show just the last week about bedtime routines, is that when you have a family bed and a child is sleeping in between you and your husband, you have a child-centered home.
Yeah.
What that child is saying is, I don't feel like going to sleep, or I need you, and using you as a pacifier. And so with the exception of them being sick occasionally, you know, or having a horrible nightmare, like this should not be a routine. That would be a sign you have a child-centered home.
That's a great point. And again, we're just calling that out of truth, because that's really what we're trying to get at here. Here's another one. And all kids will do this at some point. So just be very clear. Right. Okay. But when we see kids constantly trying to play one parent against another.
And it works.
Right. And so they will ask mom for something. And then as soon as mom turns around and gets out of the room, they'll try the same thing back on dad with the hopes of a different response. Okay. Now, again, I don't blame them for trying, but if they, as Linda said, if they keep trying that, what the message to them is, I've done it before and it has on occasion worked. Okay?
I think our son tried to do this last night.
Or maybe frequently it has worked. Okay. And so here's the deal. When Linda presents something, or when I present something, it's not, well, I think this. It is, well, mom and I think this, right? And so in our house, what we try to establish here is, if I find out that one of our kids asked for something, and then they got an answer that they didn't particularly like, and they go back and they ask Linda the same thing, all right? It doesn't matter the answer that Linda gives them, whether it usually coincides with mine, because we know how we think on things. But if it doesn't matter. Our kids are still going to get reprimanded or a consequence because they were testing us. They were trying to divide us and manipulate us. And again, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but the big picture is, we want them to know that's not what we are going to be part of. You're not going to work to divide the most important structure we have in the house outside of God. Yeah,
they need to see that. Another one is that if you feel like you're parenting alone, if your husband or your wife does nothing, and you're the one calling all the shots, and you're the one the kids go to, and you're the one making the decisions, and you are kind of laying it out there on your own, really be thinking about this. Because I just had this recently with one of the spouses who would literally say, well, my husband doesn't care. Is it that, or is it that you have disengaged him so much in the decision-making process that he doesn't even think his opinion matters, or that you don't even want to include him on the decisions? It would be worth it for you to circle back around and say, hey, I was thinking about telling so-and-so they can't go out to the game Friday night. What do you think? And that you decide and you discuss, and maybe you disagree, and maybe that's why you don't go to your spouse, because you don't think you're going to be on the same page. Wrestle that out in your war room, okay? Listen to each other's opinions, and then you come out with one decision that's mom and dad.
It's so huge. More often than not, if we're constantly butting heads and in disagreement, we won't keep that up, because we, as adults, we don't like tension any more than we need to have it. And so one will disengage. More often than not, that tends to be the guys. Well, they will just say stuff like, well, you know what, I'm not going to say anything anyway. And so now mom's on her own.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that now it is mom and child-centered home, and dad is out here, okay?
And can I just tell you, if for anything else, you need the strength and the wisdom of two people.
Yeah.
Especially if you have teenagers, because man, they will wear you down. And you will have days where you're like, you know what, just do whatever you want. I've had this before. Just do it. You're going to do it anyway. And so if you've cut off half of your strength,
this is your team.
Yeah.
Right here.
And you're trying to do it alone, and you're going to get exhausted. And then the child becomes the king of the castle.
Right. So it's just very important, like we've said before, lay these things out in advance. You and your spouse have some of these conversations, give and takes. A lot of these things are not hills you want to die on in terms of of whether mom's always right or dad's always right. Come to a level of agreement that the kids just see the unity. The unity will pay off far, far, far more than whether mom or dad was right individually. All right, keep the unity so that the kids see that united front, and that united front always has God as the ultimate guide of how we're going to run the home.
Yeah, let's just speak real quickly as we close the fact that we know that 50% of you are coming from a blended family or a divorce situation where there is somebody in another home making decisions that maybe you don't agree with or that have different value system, okay? As much as it is in your control, please try to stay united as parents, making one decision for the good of your child, because this is where we see the division occur and we see the strength get lost and the power struggle begin and the child feeling like, oh, I can work it here. So, and grandparents too. We have a lot of grandparents raising grandchildren. And so there's a parent out there somewhere who maybe doesn't have custody or any kind of decision-making rights. And so therefore there's playing going on and manipulating. Please, please try to have a united front as much as you can.
Yes, whoever is involved in the day-to-day operation and raising of these kids, that's where who's ever in that unit, they need to be united. And so if that's grandma and grandpa and mom or dad do not have custody, grandma and grandpa have to come together. And mom doesn't get to weigh in. If she doesn't have custody here and she's not doing the day-to-day, she doesn't get to have a priority of weigh in at this point, okay? Again, the goal would always be to get her back in there or to get dad back in there. But we don't want to confuse the kids, and we don't want to give the kids avenues to start to manipulate.
No. So if you need help in reprioritizing your family or taking your child off the throne and putting God as the center of your home, please call us at Rock Solid Families. This is what we do every day. We love to work with families. We love to get our children, parents empowered to lead their children well and their homes well. So call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-7625. Or you can always contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org.
All right. We also would ask that you give us 5-star ratings on all of our shows and subscribe to the channels, the YouTube channels. Also, share these messages. As we've talked about before, oftentimes people hear the show, and it's through word of mouth that they say, oh, I know somebody that's in this situation, and they share that show. We greatly appreciate that. We only survive based off of what you guys help us with in terms of moving the messages around. So please do that. So as we close out, we want to say thanks to Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction for, again, coming alongside of Rock Solid Radio and supporting the messaging that we're able to put out each week.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. You like my mug, don't you?
I don't like pumpkins much. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.